Hello and welcome back to the channel, and in today's episode I'm going to show you how to create this simple UI for our health system that's going to represent the health of our player. What is really cool is it's pretty adjustable, and you can decide what's the maximum amount of health that user should have just by passing a parameter to a script. Let's get right into it. So here we are in our project, the state that we left off last time. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some simple graphics that I prepared. And here they are. Let's go to art. Let's create new folder. I'm going to call this UI. And I'm going to bring in two simple graphics that I've done, some pixel graphic program. And as you can see, this is the empty heart. It's going to represent the health that user lost. And then this is the filled heart, meaning this health chunk is still active. So we could start working by creating UI canvas that you probably know very well, but I decided to go to package manager and use the newest UI package from Unity called, let me just bring this here, called UI Toolkit. So let's go to Unity registry, just search for Toolkit or UI Toolkit, or maybe it's already there. Let's see, in project, into UI. No, it's already embedded into Unity, so there is UI Toolkit. So we can go to care key and we can create, in our assets, we're gonna create UI folder, and we're gonna start by creating a UI document. And if you're familiar with web development, that's gonna be very similar to that, because it's separated into kind of CSS and then something like HTML, XML structure. So here you can see the style sheets. We're not going to use them for now. Here's the viewport representing our UI. Then there's inspector, which is going to be updated whenever we select some kind of element, and a library of predefined elements. So I'm gonna grab and drop visual element here, and I'm gonna call this container, and you can see that it's gonna change its name to hashtag container. Then I'm gonna scale it and position it as I see fit. Let's see, what do we need here? We're gonna have a position here. We're gonna use flex. If you know flexbox, that's gonna be really helpful. But basically this is a UI positioning system that allows you to create rows and columns to put your elements into. And I'm gonna set the flex to a direction to row, and then I'm gonna set the wrap to the default value, and then I'm going to check the align system, and I would like to have the align to be this, probably space between. So, and then align cell set to auto. I'm going to also check the size and set it to 175 by 40. And do we need margin padding? No. Do we need the background also no. So this is our container. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the set of visual elements as a child of that container. So I'm going to just drag and drop it, and here you can see that this element now becomes a child. And I'm going to just call this, let me see, heart underscore 1, then duplicate it, and then I'm going to change that name to 2 and 3. Okay, and I can, for these elements, change the background, and I can change it to image. Okay, oh, I can see this is stretch for any reason, because we don't want to grow, so let's set this to 0. Okay, and now it looks like it has proper proper size when it comes to height, but I would like to also change it to, or maybe that's fine actually. Okay, so since I changed the size, let's set it to, I believe this is 32 by 32. No, this is 64. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit too big, but we can adjust it later. So I'm gonna instead delete that and then just copy this, and now we have that. Let's change the names again. It's gonna be 2, it's gonna be 3. And let's save this, and this is our UI for now, and then we can use it. So to use it, we're gonna need a few things. We're gonna go to UI Toolkit, and we need panel settings asset, and I'm gonna call this heart UI panel settings. And thankfully we don't need to change anything for now. Let's go to our player then, and here we're gonna add UI document. Oops, not that one. UI document, and here we have to pass the panel settings, and we have to pass the let's move that here, and we have to pass the source asset which we created. Okay, let's save everything, and as you can see, we have our health bar displayed. The problem with that for now is that we don't have any way of controlling it or making it adjustable. So whenever I would like to change the amount of the hearts for my player, the amount of health, we'd have to go to the UI builder and change it by hand, which isn't very flexible. So let's change that, and I'm going to show you that you can actually manipulate and change the UI from code. So I'm gonna start by going back here and deleting all the hearts. So I'm left with just the container for that. Of course, that's gonna make my hearts disappear in the game UI. Okay, and instead I'm gonna go to our scripts. I'm gonna create new folder just to make everything nice and tidy. And I'm gonna say health. Yeah, health. And I'm gonna create 2 scripts. First script's gonna be health system, and then we're gonna create another script, and I'm gonna call this health UI. And for example, our health system is gonna be responsible for the managing the user health and the amount of current health that user has, and also informing our player manager of whether we should actually kill our player because he lost all of his health. But for now, we're gonna keep it very, very simple. And I'm gonna just add one parameter here, and we're gonna extend it in the next video. Serialize field, private int max health. Okay. Yep. That's gonna be it for now, and I'm just gonna pass it here. And here we are able to change it, for example, to 3, which is what we had previously in the UI builder. Okay, so now for the health UI, we need to adjust some stuff in that script. So what we want to have to represent the hearts is an array of visual elements, and we have a class for that in Unity Engine UI elements, and that's going to be an array, and I'm going to call this hearts. And then I'm going to also add 2 serialized fields, which is going to be private sprite empty heart sprite, and then another serialized field, private sprite field heart sprite. Okay, and we could do with our standard start and awake methods, but actually I'm gonna create a custom method here, and I'm gonna call this init, and I'm gonna pass here the max health count, which is basically our maximal health, and I'm gonna call that method from my health system. So the health UI is being controlled by the health system, which of course makes sense logically if you think about it, right? So here in awake, I'm gonna just do get component health UI init with max health. Okay, and that method is going to be responsible for setting up the UI based on the amount of the health or hearts passed here. So I'm going to create a visual element for code. So I'm going to find the container, and that's going to be the container that you see here. I'm going to get a reference to that element, just like I would get a reference to HTML element from JavaScript code. So I'm going to get a reference to the document, and I'm going to query for it. So get component UI document, which we have on our player here, right? And then I'm going to access this visual tree. So I'm going to get root visual element, and then Q to query. I'm going to query for container, and just to make things nice and tidy and don't have any strange magic symbols, I'm going to say private static string, right? Container name is gonna be container. He doesn't like that. Can I do that? No. String, of course. Okay, and it shouldn't be changeable, so can I make it const instead? Yeah, you shouldn't be allowed to change that, right? So if I'm gonna change it to const, then I shouldn't be able to change its value, right? Constant is immutable, which is good. I don't want it to change ever. So container name here, and then I'm gonna just loop for across the element across the number of the max heart count. So let's do int I 0, I less than max heart count, I plus plus. And then I'm gonna go container add, and here I'm gonna create new function, and I'm gonna call this create heart element. Okay, let's create that function. Okay, it has to return visual element so that we can add this to an array. Yeah, and we're gonna create new visual element, call this heart, and we're gonna use the constructor. So here we can pass the style that we want, and then we're gonna get the width. It's gonna be length, let's say percent, let's say 25. We're gonna set the margin for each element. Right, and we're gonna set the background image to be new, style background, field heart sprite, and we're gonna return this, return heart, and we have to have semicolon here. Okay, we're not gonna use the MPT heart sprite yet, but whenever we lose a health, we're gonna just change the background here. Okay, so let's see where that works. No errors, which is good, and I'm gonna start it. And we don't have anything. That's because we have the max health here. Oh, we probably don't have the other script added, right? Health UI. Yes, and now we have to pass the references to the empty heart and heart. Okay, let's save this now. Yes, and as you can see, we have 3 hearts now. If I'm gonna go here and change it to 4, it should generate 4 hearts. Okay, cool. How about 5? I assume it's going to work. Yep, it starts to get a little bit squeezed because we set the width to concrete number. So maybe we could do just pass max heart count here. Now let's say heart count. Then we're gonna do 100 divided by heart count. Possible loss of fraction. I'm gonna say this is fine. Nope, still it looks the same. But yeah, this is how you could basically build a heart system. If we'd like to make it look a little bit better, what we could do is go to UI health bar, take the container, check its width, and maybe we could play a little with max width. Say okay, this should give us max width. Let's try now. No, still very much squeezed, right? But if I change the container size, let's see. Maybe a little bit better, but you can play with it, right? Change this, maybe set the size to 500 pixels, save it. Still squeezed. Oh, never mind. So yeah, that's gonna be that. In the next episode, we're gonna make our health system actually work. So whenever players jumping on a trap, right, instead of dying automatically, he's gonna lose 1 health. So yeah, I'm gonna see you next one. Goodbye.